I want to redeem myself when it comes to sweater vests. I feel like I have not had the best luck in the past for my past sweater vest projects, and I really want to figure out what the formula is. I've done some browsing on Pinterest, and I think I've identified the at least two or three aspects of what makes a good sweater vest, at least for me. But before we look at what I have saved on Pinterest, I wanted to take a bit of a drive down memory lane and talk about the sweater vests I've knit for myself in the past and where I think I went wrong with those projects. So I'm gonna go to my projects. I'm going to advanced search, clothing, vests. So these are all of the vest projects in my Ravelry project. From the first sweater vest I knit here, which is the vest number 1, to the most recent, which was the Friday slipover V-neck. We can ignore this Karen Knit City Walks vest because I knit it as a gift, so it wasn't actually for me. But let's start with vest number 1. So I loved this pattern when I first finished it because at the time, this was I finished this in May of 2021. So I was just over 6 months into knitting at that point. I knit maybe a couple of sweaters before this, and I really appreciated the finishing details. So I hadn't done a folded collar before. I hadn't done something so polished, and it was my first project with what I considered fancy yarn. I held Knit Picks Gloss DK with Knit Picks Aloft. The Gloss DK was in, I believe, the Masala color. Yes, Masala color. And the Knit Picks Aloft was in the oak color. It was my first time using mohair. Didn't love it, but it seemed like all the rage. Everyone was using mohair. So I wanted to explore using a new yarn, trying a new designer. Everything was so new and shiny at the time. And this is all in retrospect, because at the time I finished it, I was thrilled with it. I was super happy with it. I didn't have any complaints. But after a few years of it being in my wardrobe and realizing I hardly ever reached for it, and when I did, I didn't have a great time wearing it. Number 1 was the yarn. I find mohair itchy. In every instance that I have used it, it has been on the itchier side. I don't find it the most comfortable. I don't find it the most breathable. And I don't particularly enjoy that actual process of knitting with mohair. So really the cons of mohair, in my opinion, far outweigh the pros. You may have a different opinion, which is totally fine, but just in general, I have found that mohair probably isn't for me. I'm not gonna say I won't ever work with it again, but for sure not at the top of my list of fibers that I've worked with. And Knit Picks Aloft in particular is very itchy, in my opinion. It's one of the itchier mohairs that I have worked with. And coupled that with the very close fitting crew neck of this pattern, and an area for me that's very sensitive, which is my neck and upper back and shoulders, pretty itchy area on my body. It just wasn't very comfortable. I had to make sure I layered it over something that came to the same point so that my skin was protected from being directly touched by this yarn. And also the color that I chose, like it was pretty, I guess, as individual colors, but I don't love the way that they paired together. I think the contrast is a bit too high. In my experience, it's best to go with mohair and a base yarn that complement each other, are in the same color family. And this is a bit of a stark difference. So it definitely has more of a marred effect than I probably would have liked. And I also think it was too cropped, a bit too cropped, and the armholes are too tight. So it doesn't layer very well over other pieces, I found. Like I was pretty much restricted to wearing it with something like I have in these pictures, which is a close fitting, tight long sleeve t-shirt of some sort. And so, yeah, the color, the fiber, and the fit just were not it for me. I think I would have enjoyed this a little bit more if I picked a bigger size, if I didn't use mohair, and if I didn't do such a cropped fit, and I gave myself a little more room in the armholes. So just like, I was thrilled when I first finished it, but looking back, there are very little redeeming qualities about this project, and I found that I never wore it. So I did end up selling this vest to another knitter on a D-Stash forum that I'm a part of. So not all is lost, RIP. And then the second vest I knit for myself was the Schemer Slipover by Apella Knits. I knit this back in June of 2022. So about a year after the first vest that I knit for myself, I gave myself some breathing room from vests, and I figured, you know what, I'll give it another try. This was a little bit better in many ways, but still not quite what I wanted. After having it for some months, getting the chance to wear it, I found it pretty difficult to style. So I don't have any modeled pics of this project, unfortunately. But like the vest number one, I don't love the closer fitting crew neck of this piece. What was a little bit better about this project is the deeper armholes, and that's a design of the pattern itself. It has these really exaggerated long armholes. The armholes end sort of just below my waist, so it makes it a bit easier to layer over things that are maybe a little bit oversized, but not really, because it doesn't have positive ease in the width of the piece. So it's kind of awkwardly close fitting, but yet oversized in the arms. And I just don't think it's a good combination. It's kind of an awkward fit, and I don't find myself reaching for it super often for that reason. So it's a little bit better than my vest number one, but still didn't quite hit. And then there's the Friday Slipover V-neck, which I think of the three vests I knit for myself until now is probably the most successful in terms of wearability. It's the one I have reached for the most since finishing it. And I finished this also in June of 2022. Did I finish these in the same month? Okay, so right after the Schemer Slipover, I knit the Friday Slipover V-neck. I guess I was just in a vest mood in the summer of 2022. So I like the V-neck. I think the V-neck was the right choice. Both of the vests I knit for myself prior to this were both crew necks, and I found it difficult to layer over anything that isn't maybe a mock neck tight fitting t-shirt. It was hard to layer over like collared shirts or anything that might need a little bit more room. This piece is easier to layer in that regard with the room and the V-neck. I don't love how narrow the shoulders are. I wish I would have picked a larger size so I have a little bit of fabric hanging over my shoulders. But I also don't think that's necessarily the style of this vest. If I look at Petite Knit's sample pictures, the way she wears it, it kind of stops right at the outer edge of her shoulders. It doesn't necessarily hang over. So if that's the fit I wanted, I think I would have been better off choosing a different pattern, but I know that now. Another mohair project, I still found this mohair itchy. I used Rowan Kid Silk Haze. So it wasn't as itchy as the Knit Pixel Loft, but still pretty itchy, not the most comfortable. But of the three, this was the most successful. I don't love how narrow the shoulders are. I think the armholes could be a little bit deeper for me, but I do like the V-neck. And I also think I knit it a little bit too long. I wish I would have knit it a bit more cropped, and I wish I had a bit more ease in the body. After failing pretty much 3 out of 3 times, failing to bring my vest vision to life, I took a pause. As you see, the last vest I knit was back in 2022. I've essentially taken 3 years off of knitting vests, and I declared myself not a vest person, although I desperately wanted to be a vest person. So after some cooling off time, I finally accepted that I wasn't ready to let this go. I wanted to redeem myself, but before I embark on another sweater vest project, I figured it would be worth figuring out what it is I'm truly looking for and trying my best to guarantee that my next vest project will check all of the boxes, so to speak. So I made a Pinterest board, as one does in these situations, and I saved all of the sweater vest outfits that spoke to me. And I tried to identify common threads between these sweater vests and figure out, okay, what about them do I like? And how can I make sure that the next sweater vest I make includes those qualities? So we'll just take a brief look at what I've saved and try to find those themes, okay? So first off, right off the bat, we have a lot of V-neck vests here, which I did mention about my Friday slipover V-neck was the thing I liked most about that project was the V-neck. So that tracks, right? Like already common thread, V-neck, boom, check. Okay, so we have a cream colored V-neck vest with some cable texture. We have a tan colored V-neck vest with some cable texture. We have another cream colored cable vest here in stockinette, but again, a V-neck, another V-neck cabled in a cream color. So 3 out of the 4 we've looked at are in cream color, and 3 out of the 4 we've looked at are cable textured, and 4 out of the 4 that we've looked at so far have V-necks. So V-necks and cable seem to be the theme here. Scrolling down, more V-necks, more cables and V-neck combined, but again, a black color instead of the cream, tan, gray, light neutrals. Most of the vests I've saved, I'm noticing are light neutral colors. Again, more cables, more V-necks, more light neutrals. So cables, V-necks, and light neutrals seems to be a common thread. Interesting. Okay, so we have a crew neck here, a couple of crew necks here, but the overwhelming themes, and you know, when I was browsing Pinterest, I was just searching sweater vest outfits, and I was kind of just saving the things that stood out to me. I wasn't necessarily pinpointing my search on V-necks or cables, but it's interesting that most of what I saved are cable V-necks and also light neutral colors. So, and I also, like looking back through what I've saved here, I can also see that most of these have quite a bit of positive ease. They're a bit on the oversized side. So this Milana vest, this picture and on the left side, I can see that like they're pairing it over a collared button-up shirt, which is kind of the outfit I envision when I think of a sweater vest. And in fact, most of these outfits kind of feature that. They're layered over a button-up of some sort. But button-ups they tend to be more on the oversized end of things. And what I've found is that the vests that I've made, when I try to layer them over a sweater vest that I have, or when I try to layer them over the button-up shirts that I have, they kind of have less ease than the button-up shirt. So there's this weird scrunching that happens that I didn't exactly like. So these outfits appeal to me, and what I'm realizing is that I just need to make sure that I'm knitting enough positive ease into my sweater vest so that it does easily layer over the button-ups that I have. I'm pretending like I'm just putting all of that together, but full transparency, I've already cast on a sweater vest that kind of checks all of those boxes. So let's take a look at it. Yeah. So I am using this Samilla Grosso by BC Garn in the color 01. It is an Aran weight, or so it says. It seems kind of light, but it is classified as an Aran weight. It has 6 plies, so the yarn is very springy, bouncy. It has incredible stitch definition. I've never worked with a yarn quite like this. It is 100% wool, but it doesn't feel like wool. It almost feels like cotton the way it works up. And I think that's because of how tight the twist is and how many plies there are. it just has a smoothness to it that is unlike any yarn that I've worked with so far. So I'm really enjoying this yarn, the color 01, which is a bright, nice cream color. I'll show you a close-up view so you can get a better look at this texture. This yarn was really made for cables. I love how this is working up so far. I'm a few rounds into the body. Oh, this is the Lana Vest by Irene Lynn. Got ahead of myself there. Lana Vest by Irene Lynn. Beautiful yarn, really nice pattern. I'm a few rounds into the body. I have already picked up the stitches and completed the collar. I'm filming the process, so hopefully I'll have a video dedicated to this, so I won't spend too much time talking about it. But I am confident that this is going to break my sweater vest curse. Wish me luck. I hope it does. That's about it. I think that covers everything I wanted to say in this video. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.